All right, everybody, welcome back. Another beautiful Tuesday morning, and we got the crew back in action. It's been a while since the original three have been together, so I know everybody's very, very excited to see what kind of magic we can bring back into today's Tuesday morning. Breakfast with Bill. Boys, how we doing?
Doing great. I'm doing great. It's, other than this broken wing, but we're managing through that. It's good to be back. Evan, welcome back to you. Enjoy seeing the pictures of little Avery. As everybody probably knows, Evan became a father, and he's embracing that role with gusto. It's great to get texts from Evan of just pictures of her and comments about how my life's changed and nothing will ever be the same. And I think we warned him about that, right?
Yes, we did. And I'm feeling like an old veteran right now, giving some coaching whenever he comes in the morning and pep talks and seeing how the night went. It's amazing how time flies, and you start to miss those days already.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, welcome back, Evan. And this week as we head into Father's Day, it's it's never wrong to trumpet the glory of fatherhood and how important fathers are. And that's my vocation. I believe is my vocation in life is to be a husband and father. These things we do together just so happen to fuel that and enable that. But I think that there's nothing greater than being, no offense to mothers, you guys do incredible work, and we could never be mothers. That's why God let us be fathers, because it's a much easier role, but no less important. And Evan, we appreciate seeing you embrace that role with the vigor you are and embracing your vocation. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. So speaking of fathers that last forever and fatherhood, we're going to talk today about how we create customers and clients that last forever, and how do we build relationships that become that greater than the vendor relationship. And that's one of the things I think as salespeople we want to create, right? We want to create relationships that are better than just being a vendor, because vendors become priced out and vendors become dispensable. And we want to create relationships where our customers see us as indispensable. And we have to continue to work and make ourselves indispensable to them, right? We have to become part of the fabric of their business. And we have to demonstrate to them that we care. I think that's probably the greatest way to become indispensable is to, well, first of all, add value and do good work, right? You can't be a moron. But add value, do good work, because our customers, our competition's not always bad. But in addition to just doing great work, that we always say that's the table stakes. In addition to doing great work, we have to let them know we care. We have to demonstrate we care. We have to prove that we care.
Yeah, and I think today what we're talking about, even though I'd much rather just talk about selling our way out of everything,
right.
But I think I'll appease you today talking about the customer experience. But I came across a quote: "The way you do small things is the way you do all things." And that just struck me today as we dig into this, and we're going to talk about just some of the simple things, such as handwritten notes, or what happens whenever someone does become your client, prospect to client. What is the journey, and what do you want that to feel like for them? Really getting into customer experience, which I had some fun researching. I know a lot about like closing percentages and sales and prospects and touches, but there's a lot of impactful data on customer experience.
Oh, there's nothing like customer experience. That quote Matt had about the way you do small things is the way you do big things. Well, that was Rudy Giuliani's theory of being mayor, and that was the broken window theory of being the mayor of New York City. And, Rudy Giuliani, not getting political, he turned around New York City. And by the way, he did it as an outcast in the party, right? He was a Republican mayor in New York City. Like, will we ever see that again? But Rudy Giuliani turned around New York City with his broken window theory, which meant when you go down the streets, and if there's an area of town where there's a bunch of broken windows, that makes people feel like this is a place where it's okay to commit crime and it's okay to vandalize. So started with the small things, fixed the broken windows, removed graffiti, cleaned up the neighborhood, picked up litter. It's that experience, right? And we have to be honest with ourselves and look in the mirror and ask the question: what's the customer journey look like when they work with us? And I can tell you, early in the history of the Tellerico Group, the customer journey was not as smooth as it is today. When I was a one-man band, and we were fortunate enough to get like 3 clients or something, right? And start working with multiple people and get a little busy. I struggled with operations, and I made working with us not easy. We would sometimes not bill people. We would bill people and it would be late. We would make commitments and say, I'll get this out to you, and forget to do it because we just got busy. And when I say we, I meant me. It was me, right? And it was early in the journey of our firm that our brand wasn't what we wanted it to be, or I wanted it to be. And I think now we're better. We're not where we want to be. I think we aspire to be greater. But what is that journey like when somebody works with you? And we have to make it easy, number one. But I think it comes back to letting people know they're individuals. Yeah, and they matter.
Yeah, no doubt. And I was going to give some tips for better customer service a little bit later in the show, or customer experience. And you nailed the first one. How many of us truly sit down and define and map out the experience we want to give? Steve Jobs, actually, if you study him, he started with the experience, and then he worked backwards to the product. So what is the experience that we want to give, and what goes into it? We talk about revenue generating activities and scorecards, but I think this is very similar to that. Spending time on what we want that to feel like, with the values, with the vision, with the experience, and then how do you embed that in your culture?
Because the product. Let's be honest, the difference in products usually isn't that great. Whether it's a service, whether it's a widget, whatever it is, we might have some features that are better than our competition, but we might run into competition as features better than us. And if we want to rely on just that, we're going to lose. Where when you start at the end, like Matt said, with what's that experience? What do we want people to experience? What do we want them to get from working with us? And then how do we fulfill that with our service and our product?
And mind you, how often do we ask, what we're currently doing and what they are currently experiencing? We've had a couple interesting examples lately. Not that we're marketing gurus or anything, but just, we need some stuff for the website. We want to run it by you. We need some statements. Is this good? How does this sound? And it's oftentimes a lot about them and not about the customer. And we said, when's the last time you asked? What happens in someone's organization where they think of you?
It's a great point. And, oftentimes when people are talking about their value statement, their value positioning statement, and they say, oh, yeah, we're do. And I say, well, that's interesting, but that sounds a lot like you. Why do your customers work with you? And they'll say, well, because I think they like blah. So, well, when was the last time you actually asked them? Like, go to your top 5 customers or top 2 or whatever you have and say to them, hey, why do you work with us? And why do you continue to work with us? And by the way, what's the one thing we could do to lose your business? And you'll learn what the value is you bring to the market, right? You'll learn real quick what your real value positioning statement should be versus the one you want it to be or the one you created.
Yeah, no doubt. So I'm dying to get these out. So 1.6 trillion is lost each year due to poor customer service. So
$1.6 trillion in revenue is lost
on poor customer service.
So think about what it takes to recreate, and refill that in your revenue stream, right? And, we always Matt and I, our focus is always on generating new revenue. And so much on the show, we talk about how do we go out and acquire new clients, new revenue. One thing we don't talk enough about is what the value of retained revenue, right? The value of retained customers, and how do we grow? If you need to grow your business by 20% a year, and you think about, well, I'm going to have natural attrition of 10% or 20% or whatever that number is, that means I need to go and gain actually 30 or 40% of new revenue. How much easier is it to grow your business on a consistent basis if you can retain what you have? And retaining 100% is not going to happen, right? It's just unrealistic. But if we could retain more of that and then look inside of that base for growth, right? How much growth exists inside of your existing client network, your existing client base, by just treating them well, by delivering on the promises, by letting them know you care, by asking them what else is challenging you right now? How else can we help? Right? How much easier is it to grow a scalable business by growing that base versus just treating that base in a very, what do you call it, transactional model.
Yeah, no doubt. Second stat, customers will spend 17% more for a good experience.
I totally believe that. I totally agree with that because I would spend whatever more for a good experience versus a bad experience. We were just talking about not naming names. We were talking about a bad experience Matt had with a security company that's taken him. He's been going through for 17 months on a commercial building he owns, right? And how much more would you pay for that to have gone away 12 months ago?
I was
17%.
Yep. Double.
Right? Because it's the frustration that comes from wasted time, feeling like you're lost, that frustration that we give people, of feeling like they can't get answers because they don't matter.
And mind share. You know, how much mind share, how many times did I put my head on the pillow at night saying, wonder if I'm going to get a call back tomorrow, because it happened to be a very important service for, you know, the safety of tenants.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm sure you have something here, but when we talk about those frustrating experiences, how much more will somebody talk about that one than just a average experience? Like if you're delivering average experiences, bare minimum expectations, people aren't going to rave about that. Mm-hmm. But people are really excited to tell people about horrible experiences to protect others from working with you.
Absolutely. And then my final stat of the day, customer-centric companies are 60% more profitable than companies that aren't.
So give me your view of what that means, customer-centric.
So you know, from my perspective, it's all about the customer, right? It's putting their needs before our needs. Much like we talk about sales as something you do for someone, not to someone. Mm-hmm. Susie pops into my mind whenever we talk about, well, that's not our company policy to be able to do that, or I'm going to have to ask the boss. You know, some of that language, those nuances in there.
My wife
I think about
Susie's
that.
pet peeve is when somebody says, well, it's not our policy, or our policy is, she goes nuts because she's like, well, Paul, I'm a person. Why are you putting policy ahead of me as a person? Yeah, it's nuts. And if you find yourself saying, well, our policy is, you're irritating somebody. You're letting them know that your policy, whatever that is, and whoever created it and wherever it's written, is much more important than they are as a person.
Yeah, but I think it's really putting others' needs first, and your company mission and value that you deliver is bettering their situation and being mindful of it in every single interaction that you have.
Yeah, and there's a couple examples for that. So for sales leaders, think of this. If your sales model, if your sales compensation plan is built to incentivize your salespeople from doing the wrong thing for the customer, fix your plan, right? Because we always say when we do comp plans, it has to be right for the customer, right for the sales rep, right for the company, in that order. And if we're promoting, if we have plans in place that incentivize salespeople to do something that's wrong for the customer, like, you know, add-on fees or add-on service charges, whatever it might be, just because they need a certain percentage of that to hit their full sales plan, that's wrong. But it also has to be right for the sales rep and right for the business. So think about that. A lot of times, our bad customer environments are created by us as leaders by having the wrong comp plans in place. Second point of note for this as a sales leader or as a business owner is, you know, as business owners, I've always heard them say, customer's king, right? Customer's king, baby. We got to go out and treat the customer right. We do whatever we can for the customer. By the way, it is so hard for me to talk with just one free hand. I'm sitting here and it's insane.
He's giving spirit fingers over here. I feel like
I'm taped down. I only have one hand to talk with. So if we're out there, you know, blowing that horn that says "Customer's King," ask yourself, how are you treating your people? Because our customers will never be treated like kings and queens if we're treating our people like peasants. And if we want a great customer experience, it starts with how we treat our people. Treat your people well. Treat your employees, your salespeople, They're interfacing with the customers. Treat them like kings and queens, and then you're much more likely to have them go out and treat your customers like kings and queens.
Well, that's spot on. I don't have the research here, but ran across numerous articles and data about customer experience really starts with your employees. And how do we go down the path of empowerment? It's really about empowerment for employees to act in real time, especially those that are client facing. Right, there's a lot of money spent for salespeople. They might be the tip of the organization that goes in. But what about the experience that they have with customer service or brand reps or whatever it might be in your organization? So how do we empower them? How do we allow them to make decisions, make the right decisions, not have to say, well, it's against our policy, or I'm going to go check with the boss, or it's about us, not about them. So really about empowerment.
What company do you think, in my opinion, now this isn't backed by research, although I'm sure it's well known in most circles, but what company do you think does the best job of employee empowerment to solve customer problems? I know I'm throwing a trick question at you here, but...
The Tallarico?
No, we don't.
Car company.
Ritz-Carlton.
I was going to say Ritz-Carlton, or when we've traveled, you love, what's the car company? I'm blanking on it. Car rental company.
Hertz Enterprise.
Yeah, I think you always say, wow, we should steal one of those Enterprise people because of all the times that you've gotten the free upgrade and talked them into stuff.
Well, and because they invest in their people. The Enterprise car company, they do an incredible job with their what do you call it, manager trainee program, where they hire young people out of college, and they teach them how to really engage with the customer. But Ritz-Carlton does it better than anybody in the world. Why does Ritz-Carlton do it? Because they actually build empowerment into their culture. And there's a couple things that happens at the Ritz-Carlton that they embed in their employees. First of all, the Ritz-Carlton has the greatest logo or slogan in the world, the greatest internal company motto in the world. It is their value statement or their mission statement. We are ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. And I love what that implies because it tells their employees what the expectation is. I mean, you think about what it means to be a lady and gentleman, a lady or gentleman. There's some distinguishment there, right? And they want their people to be distinguished and carry themselves in a distinguished manner and deliver that unique experience to distinguished customers. So Ritz-Carlton does it well. A couple things they do is, number one, their employees can't say no. So now doesn't mean they have to say yes.
Yeah, that'd be scary for a lot of people that are listening, thinking, "Oh no, here we go."
Right. It doesn't mean they have to say yes, but it means they can't say no. So they have to find creative ways to solve the customer's problem, because oftentimes what the customer's saying is a problem isn't the real problem. Right. So be mindful of that. That's another great hallmark of customer-centric organizations is they find the real challenge. They find the real problem to solve. They don't just respond to customer requests. So the Ritz-Carlton can't say no, which means they have to find the real challenge that the customer is having, in this case, the guest. And they're empowered to spend up to $2,000 to make something right.
Another scary thing for many people watching.
Not saying you have to embrace that, but for them, it works, right? For them, it's part of how they create their brand and deliver these customers. And I can tell you, people I know that stay at the Ritz-Carlton that have become, and that's not for everybody because it's a very elevated brand and it's a very elevated fee, as I found out when I tried booking it for my wife's 50th birthday in New York. We didn't stay at the Ritz-Carlton, by the way. But for people that do stay at the Ritz, it's the only place they'll stay. I mean, they know that they're paying 2 or 3 times more than what they could pay somewhere else, but the experience for them is worth it. So they're empowered to spend up to $2,000 to make something right.
So just quickly, empowerment's been a big word today. You know, how do you empower your people? What does that look like? Translating that from the Ritz, which, you know, not saying no, $2,000. You know, what does that mean in organizations that might be watching?
Yeah, well, I think it means treating your people, your salespeople, your customer service reps, right, your people, as adults and treating them like business professionals and letting them make business decisions. By the way, you might have some people that aren't capable of that.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean that you should reduce the customer experience? Or does that mean you need to upgrade your talent? So you need to have people that you can trust to make good business decisions before you can empower them. And then you empower them by treating them like adults and letting them know, giving them insights to the business, helping people understand why we have some of the metrics in place we have. Salespeople, I was talking to one of our clients the other day about negotiation training we're doing. And one of the things that came up was what we give away in negotiations. And one of the things a lot of salespeople go to in negotiations is giving away payment terms. So somebody will say, yeah, you know what? I need 60-day payment terms because that's just the way our AP works, right? We need 60 days. And most salespeople will be like, yeah, you're going to pay me? Yeah, I'll do that, right? They get real excited. They give it away quick. Well, guess what that means? If you give somebody 60-day payment terms instead of 30, you're taking 2% of profit off the deal, right? That's roughly 2% in margin we just gave away because of the cost of cash, the cash flow that goes into the business. If we have to go hit our credit line, the whole deal, it's roughly 2% you can give away in margin by extending payment terms by 30 days to 60 days. Do your salespeople care about that? Probably not, because in their comp plan, there's probably no mention of that. Do you care about that as a business owner? I think you do, right? Because 2% of margin's pretty significant, especially if you're running at 10 or 15% margins overall. Mm-hmm. So what are the things that we have to really educate our salespeople on, our team members on that are interfacing with customers that's important, right, before we can empower them? So you can't give your salespeople pricing empowerment to say, do whatever you need to do. I trust you, go win business, without helping them understand what moves the needle in some of these negotiations.
Yeah, and I think it's part of the rhythms and routines that we have, whether it's salespeople, whether it's customer service, other individuals. That's part of the goodness of the one-to-ones, and then also the team. You can call out these examples, and you can have active discussions, about what's going on in the empowerment. And one thing that comes to mind for me in empowerment is trusting them enough to let them fail. Once or twice, I see so many owners, managers, CEOs sort of micromanage because they don't want to see that mistake being made, and them jumping in and just fixing it or doing it. Really, I think it just elongates the challenge.
Yeah, it's funny because if we were to ask a business owner or a sales leader, are you willing to let your people fail? How many of them would say yes? Not many, right? What if we asked the question, say you're willing to let your people learn? How many people would say yes to that one? Probably most of all of you, right? So if we were looking at these mistakes that people make as failures, we're gonna be resistant. We're gonna try to not let those happen. But if we look at them as opportunities to learn, we can lean into them a little more and embrace them a little more, and then ask the question of the individual and say, all right, what did we learn from this one? How are we gonna approach it next time? Right.
So I think you have a note that you want to look at.
So in case you haven't noticed, I'm going to sling. I had rotator cuff surgery last week. Fun little discovery. When they got in there, they discovered the labrum was torn as well. So I have repaired labrum and rotator cuff, and it was incredibly painful recovery. Still continues to be. But one thing that brightened my day and helped the recovery go a little better was this little thing I received in the mail the other day. From UPMC where I had the surgery. And here we go, talking about great customer service. I received a note from everybody that touched me from the moment I came into the hospital until the moment I left. And in the upper right-hand corner, there's a little a note on the bottom half of that page, a note from the nurse that sat with me in my pre-op before I went into surgery. And she made the comment, and she said, so nice to meet both of you. She was talking to me and Susie in this because Susie was sitting with me in the pre-op. And then we have notes, short little notes from everybody, or a description of where they were, or a smiley face, right? And I'm looking at this as I'm reading this the other day, and I'm thinking, wow, this was incredible. What really stood out to me was that only one individual wrote just their name. And that's Sherry over there on the left, right? And not point anything out, but Sherry was actually the one who was least engaged with me throughout my stay. Everyone else who put these notes and wishing me well and smiley faces and the individual personal attention towards me was somebody that was really engaged in my care while I was there. And it just shows, I think, when you have this outward focus, this other person focus, it becomes much easier to create great customer experiences, great interactions with people. And I was touched by that. I thought that was pretty impressive, that how many people went through surgery that day, how many patients did they see? And then, UPMC, and by the way, full disclosure, UPMC owns the Hillman Cancer Institute. I serve on the advisory board at the Hillman Cancer Institute, so not, trying to promote that. But I didn't know this happened there, and I was very touched, and I was impressed that they actually build time into everybody's calendars and schedules to do that work and make sure that comes through for the patient.
Bill was so impressed that he's looking to have another surgery because he wants another card.
I can't tell you what it is, though.
But the way you do small things is the way you do all things. And just a quick note on that as we wrap this up: how many of us have started the process or used to send notes or send packages or welcome calls, welcome emails? Why'd we stop?
Right.
What got in the way, right? When I introduced handwritten notes for outside sales teams, they talk a lot about, we used to do that for our new clients, or the customer service, they used to do that. Why'd you stop?
Yeah. And when are you going to start?
Yeah.
Go write one today. Evan, think you have something to share with us?
Yeah, I just wanted to also note that going through the whole process of having a child at UPMC McGee, there was notes on the wall of everybody's satisfaction. I guess like whoever ran the division there would come around to every room and ask if we were satisfied. And then at the end of the day or at the end of every couple days, they put notes up on the wall of like the customer satisfaction rate for everyone working there to see. And
wow.
I just thought the experience was great. It like totally restored my faith in the medical community.
That's fantastic.
That's pretty interesting. I've never heard of that, but I love that concept of the customer satisfaction, or in this case, patient satisfaction, and posting it actually for everyone to see.
Part of the culture.
Yeah. Well, here we go. Matt looked at me before we started today and said, we'll probably have a short show today. I said, we'll go 45 minutes. So to not let my prophecy come true, we're going to wrap it up here at 28 past the hour. Thank you so much. We realize every minute you spend with us is valuable. We hope we give you some of that value back. So thank you for being with us. Hope you all have a great week. God bless, and we'll see you next
Good luck.
week.